Today we decided that the topic that we wanted to cover was improving data quality. Our goal is to have the clearest and most accurate picture of the property in the state that it's currently in. In regards to this, we're looking for statuses, the documentation that's on the listings, and property attributes and features, which was a major driving force for the RESO changes. There's lots and lots of choices out there now that help to gain an accurate depiction of what that property looks like. Lots of choices. So with those things that we ask is, they're button clicks, and you can't choose them. You can't choose too many. The more information that we have out there, the better the data is. And we really encourage you to put as much of those fields that are in that to have as many of those fields in there as possible. So what are the most common occurrences right now, or common things that we're seeing right now, is incorrect statuses. So we're having a lot of issues. We're seeing a lot of things where properties are not in the correct status. So that leads us to be or not to be pending. That really is the question. So I'm going to share something here with you, and I created a little flow chart to kind of help understand how that works. So as you can see here, if the property is in active status, it goes in the MLS. Obviously, it's active until, and then the question is are you allowing showings? If it's yes, okay, does the property have an accepted offer? If the answer to that question is yes, that they do have an accepted offer, then that needs to go into active backup. If there's no accepted offer, then obviously that's just active. However, if you are not allowing showings, is there an accepted offer? If the answer is yes, that needs to go into pending. If the answer is no, it goes into withdrawn. If you are not allowing showings and you do not have an accepted offer, that has to be in withdrawn. If you're not allowing showings and you do have an accepted offer, then that goes into pending. The only time it goes into active backup is if you have an accepted offer and you are allowing showings. These changes need to happen within 1 business day of the change being done, or of the accepted offer. So if your seller accepts the offer today, tomorrow, the status has to change. Now, one thing we'd like to encourage, or would like to remind everybody, is that sellers cannot dictate MLS rules. So if they say, well, I know I have an accepted offer, but I want it to stay inactive, that's not allowed. It has to be in active backup. Another issue that we see a lot of is documentation. So what and when, right? Listing contracts are required. They're required to be uploaded to the MLS within 1 business day of the listing going in the MLS. If they are not in during that time frame, that is an immediate fine of $25. In the past, we've sent out reminder emails letting everybody know, hey, you're still missing this documentation. Please make sure that it gets uploaded. However, it's been determined, MLS committee, this is an immediate fine. It was an immediate fine before, but now those warnings are no longer getting sent out. They're immediate fines if you don't have them in within 1 business day. The other items are contract change forms. That's within 1 business day as well. And that's anytime that there's a change to the listing agreement. So that's price changes, withdrawals, cancellations, anything of that nature. You don't need one to go from pending or active backup. That's just part of the normal process of the listing agreement. So you don't have to have a change form for those. But any other change that would constitute a change to the listing agreement requires a change form that has to be within 1 business day. I know there's a lot of confusion. A lot of people are like, 24 hours. It used to be 24 hours and then 72 hours for another form and then 5 days for this or 5. About a year ago now, we have made this to where it is all 1 business day, with the exception of non-list sales, which are 5 days after close. Everything is 1 business day.
Do we, before
ahead,
we go
Kristen.
forward, does anyone have any questions about statuses or change forms? No? Okay.
Good catch. I'm sorry. I'm so used to doing the webinars instead of the meetings that I didn't think of I was looking for the Q&A for that.
I do have a question.
Yes.
You have an accepted offer, but the inspections are not done. Does it still need to go in pending or just AB status?
Yep. The status, active, backup, or pending has nothing to do with inspections. So that doesn't decide if you change that status. It's whether or not they're allowing showings once you have that accepted offer. So if they're allowing showings, active, backup. If they're not allowing showings, pending.
So I have a situation that inspections are done and they are not coming to an agreement about accepting or not. And seller is willing to show.
Okay, so it would be active backup. So you have an offer and they want to allow showings, then it would be active backup.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Right. And I think Manesh, in that situation where they have an accepted offer, but the buyer is with the inspections doesn't want to necessarily proceed, then you would drop that back into active if you don't have backup offers. So hopefully that answers your question.
No, you did, and correct. I mean, right now they're negotiating and I don't want to put it in a pending. Just with AB, people have stopped calling. And then if I put it in a pending, nobody will even think about it. That's why my concern is, but thank you. You answered my question.
Perfect. Great. Any other questions before I go and take off again?
Yeah, we had one, and I'll just reiterate. It was, is it 1 business day for a new listing? How can you get the pictures there that fast? Do you want to take this or you want me to?
No, I can take it. So the only required photo that we have for the MLS is the front elevation grade photo. That's it. That's the only photo that's required. You can put 100 photos in there if you'd like, but the only required photo is that front grade elevation photo. So that's the only photo that you need. Now we understand that you're going to be sending out, photographers and doing the, professional photos and things like that. But that's fine. You can add those things later. But the only one that is required is that front grade elevation photo.
Yep, and you can always snap a picture with your cell phone and replace it once you get those professional photos. So you're still in that time frame of the 1 business day. And then when you get those professional photos, you can do that. Or you have the option of making it coming soon. And then you can make it go active once you have all those photos. So there's that other option if your sellers need more time to get the home ready.
I go to the township website and use that picture if I don't have a time or weather is not good, just temporarily, and then change it to whatever my photos are. So there is a photo, like if it's really a snowy or a bad cloudy day, do you see anything wrong with using that picture and just putting it there for a day or two?
So technically that is not allowed because it's a copywritten photo. We don't have permission to use the township's photos.
Okay.
That's why it has to be an original photograph.
I have a question. Just for my own clarification, because I've heard different things. So you go to a listing appointment and they sign all the paperwork, but they're like, well, we don't want to start the listing until next week. So, okay, fine. Is the 24 hours of one business day from the day they signed it or just from the date that the contract starts?
So in the very top of the listing agreement, there's a contract date.
Mhm.
It is within one business day of that contract date.
Okay, and that's what
They
I
can-
thought, just because people are asking about the pictures, I'm like, okay, so then if you want to list it, then just put the contract date 4 days out and have your, okay, so good. Just making sure I wasn't missing something.
Nope, that's fine. Perfect question. Thank you.
Are you going to speak about the rules for coming soon? It's not something I've actually used so far.
Sure, I can go over those. What do you have a specific question on that, or just
I just,
You wanna-
I haven't used it, so I just want to know like what the requirements are.
okay? For coming soon listings, there is a you can have the coming soon date go out 14 days from the listing contract date. And in that time, you're not allowed to show the property. You can advertise the property, but you can't advertise the property before it goes in the MLS. The point of the coming soon is to have time to get the property ready for showings. And during that time is when you're getting it ready for advertising, when you're getting it ready for all of those things. So you can put the property in the MLS, start advertising it is coming soon, and you can do that for up to 14 days. You have to have a coming soon addendum and a coming soon rider on the sign out front. You can put signs in the front yard of a coming soon. That's fine. You just have to make sure that that rider is on top. If you look at the rules and regulations, I think it's the second page. The link is in Flex. That will have all of the bullet points for coming soon, for the coming soon requirements. But what I just explained is the gist of it. That's the basics.
Yep, and the coming soon addendum has the same time frame as the listing contract, so it's one business day. The main thing is to make sure your advertising says coming soon. So if you're posting it on Facebook, it has to say coming soon. You have to indicate that no showings are allowed until it's active. And we're happy to email you what those rules are at any time. If you want to shoot us a message, we can show you where they are in the MLS rules and regulations.
It may help to remind realtors not to call us and say, I know it's coming soon, but I have out of town buyer. Can I show it? And you just hate to explain the same situation to people. I just had 2 listings like that, and I must have received at least half a dozen. And they understood after I explained to them that I and you both will be fine if that is fine with you. And they said, no.
No, that's absolutely correct. You cannot show that property at all during that time. So there's no showings allowed. And that's another thing too. Anytime, because of the coming soon rule, anytime that you're not allowing showings, or you can't, you're no longer allowed to put no showings until Friday, or no showings until Saturday at this time, due to the active showing rule that you have to allow showings, and the coming soon rule states that no showings until cannot be anywhere in the listing whatsoever.
Can you change the date of your coming soon? So if you're putting it 14 days out and then all of a sudden they're ready to go 7 days before what you had listed, can you just do a change form and change the listing date?
You absolutely can. And that, again, that would, just like you pointed out, that would be a listing contract change. So that would require a change form. Because sometimes contractors are a little faster than what they originally said. Sometimes. Great question. Anybody else? All right, so with that line of questioning, let's go ahead and let's talk about some advertising issues. So any type of media is advertising, whether it's an email, a text message, a Facebook post, anything like that is considered advertising. You even mentioning the property, you don't have to mention the address. You don't have to show pictures of the property. Even simply saying 4-bedroom in Diamonddale coming up, that's advertising, because you're talking about a property that you're trying to sell. Within 1 business day of advertising, that has to be in the MLS, with the exception of coming soon. Coming soon, you should not be advertising before it goes in the MLS, because the spirit of the rule is that you're trying to get it ready for advertising and showing. But within you stick a sign in the front yard, you email or you text somebody about it. You post on Facebook that you've got this really cool property coming up. Anything like that within 1 business day is required to be in the MLS. Is there any questions on that?
I kind of joined late. It's Amy Sweet. So just to clarify, the coming soon, it goes in the MLS and it's automatically going to be listed at a certain date, but you can't put it on Facebook or you can't put it anywhere else saying it's coming soon.
No, not necessarily accurate. You can advertise that on Facebook as long as it is in the MLS, and you can say that it's coming soon. You can say that it's coming soon on this date and things like that. What we're trying to, the only caveat to that is you can't have a listing on Facebook and say, I've got this 4-bedroom coming soon, and then have it go active on, put it in active in the MLS.
I see.
Because with the coming soon rule, that's very confusing to people. Or before it goes into the MLS as coming soon, you shouldn't be advertising it on Facebook because it's not ready to be advertised yet. That's the whole point of the coming soon. So
Okay.
other than that, absolutely, you can advertise it any other way, like with the exception of showings and open houses. You can advertise it any other way that you would a normal listing.
And it is, and showing time is open for the day that it's scheduled to go live.
Correct. Showing time blocks off those automatically. So when you put in a coming soon listing and have, let's just say for argument's sake, that you're going to start allowing showings on Friday of this week. It goes in coming soon today. Showing time automatically blocks out those dates until Friday. So you can't do that unless so there's no need to go in and put any kind of showing restrictions or anything like that in a coming soon until that showing date. That's automatically done. And then once Friday hits, it usually happens in the middle of the night, though I don't think anybody's going to schedule a showing at 3 a.m. You never know. But
I could schedule, say it's scheduled to go showings on Friday, but I could today schedule a showing for Friday.
That is correct. Yes.
Okay.
So Edward, we're talking about the showing restrictions and the new active rule. If it's active like on a Monday, but the seller's like not going to allow showings on Wednesday and Thursday because they have family coming into town or something like that, that is still acceptable?
Christy, can you go ahead and then touch base on that one? That one's more of a.
Yeah, so that's more of an if they're allowing showings Monday and Tuesday, but Wednesday and Thursday, their kids are learning virtually or they have a family commitment, that's a little different than no showings until. So if they are allowing showings, but they have a commitment, for this short time frame, that's different than saying no showings until a future date. So
And
yes,
then we would have to go in manually and block out those times.
correct. And then there has been the issue, I guess, in today's climate where someone gets exposed to COVID and it's going to be an extended period of time that they're not allowing showings. At that time, you would withdraw it until they're ready.
Hopefully that doesn't happen.
And just to clarify, a withdrawal is like a hold. A cancel is you can't, you get rid of it.
Yep, withdrawal,
Yeah.
they're still under contract with you. So
Okay.
that's just saying we're gonna take it off the market for a short period of time.
And then days on market stop,
Correct.
but cumulative days on market continue to go.
I believe so, yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Cumulative days on market reset 90 days after it is off market. So a withdrawn status, it doesn't accumulate active days on market, right? But it does accumulate cumulative.
Okay.
So that's another thing too, and thank you, Amy, for that. One of the things that I've noticed too over the last few months is a confusion between the withdrawal and the cancellation. You can't withdraw a listing and then relist it because you still have an active contract with the withdrawn listing. When agents are moving from one brokerage to another, we go in because the listings belong to the broker. We go in as MLS staff when we see that transfer, and we withdraw those listings for the broker to reassign them. Now it's up to the broker if they want to go ahead and cancel the listings so the agent can relist them with the new brokerage. That's up to the broker to do. But if they are in a withdrawn status, they cannot be relisted until they are canceled.
So just to clarify, then that would have to be canceled through the original brokerage.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
The broker has to sign off on that cancellation because that is their listing. Perfect. Any other questions? All right, well, that was basically my presentation. Christy, is there anything that I missed?
I don't think so. The main, like Ed said, the main thing we have is some confusion over active backup and pending. And it basically all boils down to allowing showings or not. They both have accepted offers. If you have 13 offers and your sellers are deciding which one to take, and they don't want to have any more showings because they had 57 over the last 2 days, move it to pending. They're going to pick one of those, 13 offers. You can move it to pending before they've bottom lined that. You can always move it back to active backup if it's been a week and they say, okay, now we're ready for backup offers. That's not a problem. So just that's the biggest, I guess, data issue we're having lately. Any questions, feel free to reach out. We are happy to help work with you on what the rules and regulations are. I think that's it.
You just got one question on chat, and after that, I also have a question.
Sure.
Okay, go ahead.
This is talking about levels and how to search for that.
Yeah, okay, so to search for levels, which let me get, hold on 1 second here. All right. So I'm gonna share my screen, and let's go through this really quick. So hopefully you can see this. If you're looking for a 2-story house or 3-story house, whatever happens to be the case, the levels field is a required field. Now, if you click here on levels, if you're looking for a 2-story, you just pick 2, and it'll pull up 2-story houses. If you come into a situation where you find a house, a sold house or whatever, that does not have correct info on the levels, whether it's multi-split or a story and a half or a 2-story, submit an error report on that. We'll update the listing. But previous 2-story listings were moved over to 2-level homes when the reso data changes occurred. There was a little bit of an issue with how that was being done. There have been a few properties that did fall through the cracks on that, but we're updating them manually as we find them. So if we have that information, we can then affect the change to make sure that the data is accurate. But again, it's a required field now. All new listings will have to put that in there.
So do we have to go back and change our searches for our clients? If we previously were searching for ranches only, do we have to go change those searches?
No, because architectural style still has ranches available in that. However, it may not have the level information in if it's older homes. Newer homes will have that. Now, architectural type also is not a required field. So that is going to require agents, when they're putting in that information, to put in as much information as possible on their new listings. So if not just the required fields, but let's do all the data that's available, right? So if it's a ranch or if it's a colonial, make sure you check that. If the garage faces east, I know people have told me that I don't care if the garage faces east. Some people might, so check that box. The more data you have, the more granular you can get your searches for your clients, and the better the data that we have all over.
So if I have it as a ranch search right now, I may want to go in and add levels in one level so that I pick up anything that somebody didn't put ranch, but they put it in new as one level. So I better do both. Okay.
Correct. Yes.
Yep, the same as for like garages. There's the option of garage and then garage spaces, because there's no guarantee that everyone is putting garage spaces, and you want that 2-car garage. So you have to kind of check both.
And so this will be for a period of time, whether it's a year or whatever, until we get all transitioned over to that new, everybody's doing the new resale thing, maybe.
Well, we are, as far as our MLS goes, we are transitioned over. That project is completed.
No, I mean the agents doing it the correct way.
Yes, and that's why we have these. I'm sorry, what was that, Kelly?
I said that could take years.
Right.
Well, and that's why we started having these Ask and Learns, is just for this reason, so we can help educate members on how to put these in. Like in the chat here, it's, how do you put in a bi-level, 2 levels, or, well, if it's a bi-level, in levels, there's a checkbox that says multi or split. So you can check that box if it's a multi-level, if it's a split level, and so on and so forth. You could put, any levels are anything that is above grade. So if it's a story and a half, that's 1.5 levels. If it's multi or split, then it's a multi or split level home. And it just like before, it all boils down to what agents are putting in when they put in the listing, right? So there have been times where people will put in a 1-story, but then there's finished square footage on the 2nd level. Is it a 1-story, or is it a 1.5 story, or is it a 2-story? So it's really dependent on making sure that the data is input into the listing as accurately as possible.
And so that then becomes incumbent on us as agents. If we see something, a listing that doesn't have all of the information or is inaccurate, we should report it. Reporting is not necessarily a negative thing. It is something to make the data accurate.
Absolutely, Amy. Thank you very much. That's an excellent comment. Yes, we agree 100%. We would rather have that information. Well, if the information is incorrect, especially even on a closed listing, even closed listings, we'll verify the data ourselves. We'll go in, we'll make the change, we're done. We'll file it away, it's completed. Our job is to make sure that we are doing everything that we can do to provide you with as many tools and valuable tools to do your jobs. That is our purpose here. The data is only as valuable as the information it holds. The more information that's in the data, the more valuable it is to you. And we're very data centric. We want to make sure that the data is accurate.
Any other questions? We have one attached or detached garage. There's no detached option.
Okay, so we see a lot of signs in the first picture. Is this okay? No, there should be no signs in any of the photos at all. No branding, no advertisement, no signs. If you do see that, please report it so we can contact the agent and let them know. Sometimes that, there are times that the photographer will be snapping pictures if the photographer doesn't know the rules, right? And it may be missed. That's perfectly acceptable. It's perfectly understandable. We'll reach out to the agent. We'll let them know, hey, there's a photo in your, there's a picture of your sign in the photo. Please replace that photo with a photo that does not include a sign. And, we should get that taken care of. But if you see that, please let us know.
So I put the question in for the attached or detached garage. Like, there's no option for a detached garage. It says garage attached, or it says attached or no garage and parking spots. And so, like, how do you search for that? What are you supposed to do? It's like, it's non-existent.
At that point, you just don't select the attached selection and just choose garage. I know that you're going to probably pull up listings that have garage attached, but there isn't a reso selection for detached garage.
So it just seems weird that they would have taken that out. That seems odd. I do have one other question. With all of the crazy over asking price offers and things that are happening, is there a plan for how things are going to be recorded when they're closed, like we do concessions now, that if there's some sort of, appraisal gap guarantee, or is it just going to be the sold price? Is there any thought been going into that to really sort of clarify how the market has been over the last few months?
So there is the option of the sold remarks where you can put, sold over asking, however percent. As far as anything beyond that, there isn't.
So I know there's been a lot of like online discussion in different forums about, changing prices or doing different things. And everybody's like, okay, well, we have to get the data right. It seems like some of that data would be really informative for later, looking back at stuff. So just curious if it's been talked about or doing something. I know that there's nothing in place currently that shows it, but it seems like there should be.
Yep,
Yeah,
it's kind of been, go ahead, Ed.
There has been discussion, but it's kind of a unique problem. So though we're discussing it, we currently do not have a solution in place. So it is something that we're aware of. It is something that we're discussing, but I don't want to get, I don't know exactly, any kind of time frame on that.
Can I make a comment? A lot of people say they want to know how much it sold for over an appraised value or whatever, but once it's sold, that sold price is the value of the property now. So that will be the comp. It really doesn't matter how much, the appraisal gap was or anything like that. I don't think that would help you in any, circumstances on, pricing your properties, because that sold price is now your comp price. And
Okay.
that's what an appraiser is going to use. But when it comes, you can make comments in the sold things like, concessions, or the seller paid this or the buyer paid this price because they had to put in a $10,000 septic system, or there weren't any commissions paid, that's why it sold so low, or, you know, and we encourage you to do that as appraisers. We need that information, and we make a lot of phone calls to agents to clarify those things, you know, why did it do this? But when I'm in my appraisal report, I comment on all of my comps and say, this one sold for 10,000 over list, this one sold for 20,000 over list. So I can show to the lender, this is what's happening in the market. And that's why we had the conversation on Facebook. By raising your list price and putting it in the active backup status, it throws off all of our statistics to prove that people are paying over. So I highly say, don't do that. Hopefully they answered some questions.
Thank you, Beth.
I just have one comment. I know this is nothing to do with our board. It's the NAR who is driving all this new information for statistical purposes. However, it's that old saying that design a system for a fool and only a fool will use it. It is so difficult for buyers now to read and understand the MLS sheet. Even as a realtor, I find it confusing because we are just starting. But I believe there is so much information we are trying to give as against helping the buyers and sellers, we are confusing them more. It's just a comment. I don't expect any, I know it's had nothing to do with you.
Well, thank you, Manish. I mean, I understand that. I understand that there does seem to be like information overload, right? With all of the different fields that are within RESO standard. But, you know, one of the biggest issues that we run into is people that are out of our market. What we call a primary bedroom here is not called a primary bedroom everywhere. What we call a den may not be called a den somewhere else. So the whole point of the RESO standardization is for all MLSs nationwide and in Canada too, to adapt these fields and have a standardization for the tools, the applications that are made for your smartphone, you know, for everything. Because currently the way it is right now is if somebody makes an application, they have to then map this field to this field and this from this MLS, and this MLS is a different name for that same field. So now I have to map my application to that, and it's very confusing, very cumbersome, and it really is difficult. Where standardization will drive more innovation for these tools that we can then use to help our sellers, right, or to help our buyers. And to
understand your point, and I have nothing against it. It almost sounds like a selfish for realtors, and it's impossible for buyers to discern all these things. And then there are more questions, and you try to answer them, and they're more confused. And again, it's nothing. I understand your hands are tied and the purpose of it. At the same time, our purpose should be also to help buyers, which I don't think it is helping. It's just a comment. Let's move on. Sorry.
No.
So I think though, Manish, if we look at it like, you know, Zillow and some of those tools took some power and took some of our leverage away. If we become experts in that data sheet, now we become owners again of really being able to help our clients more and have a little bit more value add. So maybe just kind of look at it from that perspective.
Thank you.
Any other questions here before we wrap up? This has been a really good session.
I have
This has been a good one.
So this reso, whatever you're calling these new changes, that all this extra information, do you know if the MLSs that we reciprocate with are going to be doing stuff? Because I have noticed that whenever I try to search using more than one MLS. It goes from everything that we offer to how many bedrooms, how many baths, and square footage. That's it. That's all you can search for. I mean, I might be being a little bit sarcastic, but that's basically it. It's
No,
like, it's really hard to search across anything like together.
I agree with you 100%. I've seen that as well. I've noticed that. And that data mapping issue that I was talking about, that is a prime example of that, right? So it's mapping those fields from one thing to the other. The issue that, and yes, it's RESO, so it's Real Estate Standards Organization. This is a drive for everybody to get onto that as well. When they adopt that is on them as a MLS. I mean, if we could force it, you know, everybody needs to be on RESO, because just like for that reason there, our members can't jump into a real comp listing and search that listing with the same parameters currently that we have now. However, once they adopt that, then they'll be able to, because those are one-to-one matches, right? So that it's a huge push. They will be going to that. I know that APIs, and not to get too into the technical weeds here, I'm sure that there's not as many geeks as there are in my normal circles. But APIs are all driven off of the RESO standardization. So in order to get your API certified, it has to be RESO compliant. The current thing that we have now is RETS, and that's the Real Estate Technology I forgot the S. I forgot what the S is for. Oh, standardization. But that's not a RESO compliant. You know, there's not one-to-one matches, so you have to physically map everything. With API is automatically has to be RESO standard, so everything should match once everything goes to API. Again, you know, those things take time to affect the change. So it may take some time, but they are working towards that.
All right, I think that's it. All
I
right,
want to thank everybody. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Christy.
Yep, thank you guys for participating. We love to have more questions. If you have anything, feel free to email us at mls@blaronline.com. And we're happy to help you, and thank you for participating.
This was great. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. I appreciate everybody's comments. Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.